A true leader has the confidence to stand alone, the courage to take tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others. In the end, leaders are much like eagles. They don't flock, you find them one at a time. Let us meet one such leader, Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad. A country sleeps peacefully because the soldiers protect it on the front lines. They forget their lives, selfish motives, vanities, and volunteer their lives for the love of their country. A soldier has to face a lot of challenges in his life. They part from their families and spend most of their time away from them. Further, they undergo hard training to achieve success, needing immense physical and mental strength. Sometimes they don't even get enough supplies to make ends meet. No matter what the weather, they have to survive in dire circumstances. But the privilege of protecting the country and its honor outweighs all this pressure. One such brave and tireless soul is Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, PVSM, VSM. Born on the 10th of August in 1942 in Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh, in a family of judges and civil servants.
My parents come from UP. My father was in the Indian Civil Service, and at the time of independence he got transferred to Delhi. And we had a small tenure in Simla. My father was posted in Simla, and then he shifted to Delhi and was with the central government in the ministry here.
He joined Modern School Barakhamba Road, New Delhi in 1948 and finished his schooling in December 1958, when he joined the 21st course of the National Defence Academy in December 1958.
All my friends were quite surprised. All my classmates were quite surprised. Such a average person, such a quiet fellow, nothing very great in sports, nothing very great in academics, and suddenly found by the principal to be the right material to go to the National Defence Academy at Khadakwasla. And that's where my journey for the rest of my life started.
After 3 years of training at the National Defence Academy and 1 year training at the Indian Military Academy, he got commissioned in the elite 3rd Gorkha Rifles.
I got commissioned in December 1962 and was commissioned into 5th Battalion of the 3rd Gorkha Rifles. And our first tenure of duty soon after was the Chinese War of 1962. The Chinese was although withdrawn, but we are moved into NIFA. NIFA is North East Frontier Agency, which is today called Arunachal Pradesh. When we reached Tejpur, we had to march all the way from Tejpur first to Tanga Valley, then to Bamdila. And we occupied defences at Bamdila, which is good about over 150 kilometers from the border. That was the kind of situation that existed soon after 1962 war.
In 1968, he was posted as a captain in the Intelligence Directorate of the Army Headquarters, where he gained experience in intelligence work. In 1970, he was posted back to his parent unit, the 5-3 Gorkha Rifles, where he took part in active operations in the India-Pakistan War of 1971 in the Kargil sector.
Just the end of November of 1971, was ordered to move from area of Leh to Kargil. And so we moved the battalion, and what normally happens is that the commanding officer with the order group, as they call it, that is the company commanders, go a little ahead, and the battalion 2IC, I was the battalion 2IC, brings the main body subsequently of all the 600 troops that are there. So I moved the battalion, the commanding officer had already gone ahead, and I moved the battalion into Leh and stopped the convoy of 600 soldiers before entering the position to ask people ahead, is everything clear there, can I move the battalion in? And I was told, yes, everything is clear, please bring the battalion up. So I went up, and as soon as we reached the plateau where we were to park our vehicle, where the troops were to disembark and start kind of settling down, Pakistanis started shelling. And everybody shouting, take some shelter, run there, run there. In the meantime, the Indian Air Force came. Obviously, they were summoned and they came and silenced those guns. It was in mayhem for about 1.5 to 2 hours, and when we settled down, the fire stopped. We found about 22 of my men killed, and it is a ghastly sight, to say the least.
During the period 6 December 1971 to 17 December 1971, he led his task force to the capturing of 7 enemy posts along the Shingo River, with the operations culminating in the capture of the famous dominating feature of Hathi Mata.
On the 7th of December, I was given the task to go and clear a particular post called Post 23 of the enemy, which was through a depression up on a hill which had defied capture for a long time. Now, we started the march after last light when it got dark, because the enemy MMGs were aimed and firing. So we had to make sure that we quickly get into a depression, into a nala kind of stuff, try and climb slowly in a manner in which the MMGs would not be able to take us. And it was a long walk. We thought it will finish in about 2 hours to make us reach the objective, but then at night you have difficulties, you lose way a little bit, you find difficulty in climbing because there are stones and all kinds of things. There are no tracks. So instead of reaching the objective by about 10 o'clock at night, we reached the objective only at about 12 at night. And we began our attack on that particular post at about 12 at night. And after that, there's so much confusion. When a unit at night goes into attack, it goes through utter confusion. You don't know what's happening because you can't see anything. The enemy is firing, you are firing. There's complete chaos. And just everybody is doing what he thinks is right in front of him. And so we continued this process. And by about 3:34 in the morning, I felt, and I was right up there, that I think we have completely captured the objective. And I found that there was no fire coming from the enemy side. So I gave a success signal saying objective captured. And as soon as the first light broke at about 5 o'clock in the morning, I found a white hanky come out from a particular bunker with a junior commissioned officer of the Pakistan Army, and slowly behind him came about 20 or 25 men who surrendered, and we captured the post. That was the first time in my life I went through an actual physical attack where live fire was being engaged, and many people would have lost their lives. हर एक गोली के ऊपर एक आदमी का नाम लिखा होता है. उस गोली पे अगर आपका नाम लिखा है ना, तो कोई नहीं बचा सकता, और अगर उस गोली पे आपका नाम नहीं लिखा है तो कोई गोली आपको मार नहीं सकती. Then I said to my troops, look, we have walked the whole night. We've been out of the battalion from the 7th of December till now, which is now 16th of December. We can't just stop. And then I said, I have to move. I have to capture. Doesn't matter what price I pay for it. And we started walking. That is the approach to the objective, which was least expected by Pakistan. They were expecting we'll come from the right, we'll come from the left, there's that and the other. The most impossible approach is what we had taken from behind the objective. They were completely shaken. They didn't know what's happened, and we captured the objective.
For these very successful actions, his battalion, 5th Gorkha Rifles, was awarded Battle Honour Shingo and Theatre Honour Shingo River Valley.
I had done 17 years of my life in the military with the Gurkhas. Now suddenly to shift to Sikhs and Dogras was a humongous change for me. But then I again knew that now I have no option but to make the best of it and just work hard to see that these Sikh troops and the Dogra troops developed the same kind of affinity with me as the Gurkhas had developed. And that particular day, I divorced myself from the Gurkhas. And I went and married the Punjabis. And got the honor of commanding 3 Punjab, an equally elite unit with a history of over 250 years behind them. Later, the regiment gave me the honor of making me the colonel of the Punjab regiment, a great honor bestowed on me by the regiment.
In 1986, he was posted to the operational and training branch of the newly raised National Security Guard, where besides operations and training, he was given the overall command of the National Anti-Hijack Force of the National Security Guard.
A very unfortunate incident took place in the history of India. Mrs. Indira Gandhi got assassinated in the year 1984. And that's the time the government of India thought that there must be a special force created to look after VIP security. So a special group was created who was looking after the security of the next Prime Minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. This special group later got converted to the SPG, but much later. In between, in 1986, the government decided to raise a security force called the National Security Guard, which was to comprise of the armed forces as also the paramilitary forces. So the first Director General was Mr. Ram Nagrani, who raised the NSG in the year 1986.
He also got the opportunity of studying the infamous Pan Am hijack from Bombay to Karachi in 1986, where Neerja Bhanot was awarded the Ashok Chakra.
A Pan Am aircraft flying from Bombay to Karachi got hijacked and was landed at Karachi, and a large number of casualties took place in that shootout, on which a movie is also made, in which the famous air hostess Neerja Bhanot was also decorated. I was in charge of the anti-hijack force of the NSG. By then we had created a force in the NSG to specifically look after the hijack situations. And so I was deputed to study this particular hijack where Neerja was killed. And after studying that, I was told that write a report, and I wrote a report on what happened in this hijack. And I brought out the details of Neerja. So my big boss told me, would you like to write a citation for her? So I wrote the first draft of Neerja Bhanot's citation, for which she got an Ashok Chakra.
This was the early 90s. So there was a lot of pressure on him as the Deputy Director General of Military Operations looking after the Western Front. And we could make out that in spite of the pressure, he never let that pressure ever come down onto us. He allowed us the freedom of action. He made sure that whatever work we were doing, whatever data we had to collect and put up, whatever little analysis we had to do, to enable him to carry out a correct assessment for the information of the Director General of Military Operations or for the Chief of the Army Staff at that time, he was very calm and composed. So that is one issue that I really appreciated about him, giving clear-cut directions and then giving us freedom of action.
During this period, he also attended a course of instruction in the UK on hostage negotiations. The expertise was later used by the Government of India in carrying out successful negotiations with militants at the famous Hazrat Bal Mosque in Jammu and Kashmir in October 1994.
And after that, I remember he came to the Infantry Directorate as the Director General. And during his period, we saw a lot of transformation happening in the infantry. He realized the relevance of technology for empowering the infantry soldier. And therefore, all that he did was, he made sure that whatever technology was available in the country is incorporated in the weapon systems that the infantry requires, in enabling systems that will help the infantry prepare for future battles. And it is from then on that the infantry has been empowered with technology. The infantry soldier with boots on the ground is not only armed with his weapon, he is really armed with technology today. And all that happened during his tenure as Director General of Infantry. And I think if the infantry soldier is reaping the benefits today, part of the credit certainly goes to him.
And for the service that I did throughout, at one point in time I got the Vishishta Seva Medal, and in the later part of my career as a Lieutenant General, I got from the President the Param Vishishta Seva Medal. So these also are some of the highlights that I achieved in the service. And soon after that, of course, I retired. And after retirement, I wasn't very sure what I was going to do. But one thing was emerging, and that was the film-making career.
Right when the scenes are being shot, and he was kind enough to go there. और वहाँ पर वो मुस्तकिल सेट पे रहते थे, देखते रहते थे बैठ के, और अगर कोई बात उन्हें लगे कि नहीं यार ये आर्मी में ऐसा नहीं होगा, ये आदमी इस तरह नहीं खड़ा होगा, इस तरह नहीं बोलेगा, इस तरह से जा रहा है ऐसे नहीं जाएगा, या ये गड़बड़ हो रही है, तो वो फरहान को बता देते थे कि देखिए आप कर रहे हैं, ये सिनेमैटिक लिबर्टी हो जाएगी, ये ऐसा कर ले, आप ना करें तो ठीक है। तो फरहान वुड एडजस्ट दैट। उसका अल्टीमेटली हमें फ़ायदा ये हुआ कि जब वो पिक्चर रिलीज़ हुई तो मुझे अपनी ज़िंदगी में कई बार सीनियर रिटायर्ड आर्मी ऑफिसर्स मिले और उन्होंने मुझे कॉम्प्लीमेंट ये दिया कि ये इट इज़ वेरी हार्ड टू बिलीव कि दिस स्क्रिप्ट इज़ रिटन बाय समबडी हु वाज नॉट इन द आर्मी।
He has authored 2 books, namely The Infantry and The Gallant Dogras. Both the books are recipients of first prize in illustrated coffee table books in the Indian Book Fair.
He is a person who is willing to articulate his point of view on forums today, very widely seen forums, both on television and on public platforms. It could be a literary festival or it could be a serious seminar. His voice is of great importance because he brings into it analysis and facts in equal measure.
What can be spoken about the spouse of a soldier? The very reason she's called the better half is because she's the one who holds the fort when the hero is away at the battlefield.
Barely had we settled down in a year and a half with a small child that he was posted off to Ladakh. But at that point of time, we had no inkling that there is going to be a war that's going to break out, that the Indo-Pak 71 war is going to come about. So I stayed put in Delhi with my in-laws and he was there in Ladakh. With great difficulty, he came down for 2 months annual leave and we were rejoicing because it was coinciding with Diwali. So he said, chalo, that's a very good thing, we are with the family, so we'll all celebrate Diwali together. But that was the day I really realized what this infantry-ness is all about. We had just gone in the morning to the market close by, picked up the patakas and the diyas and all the other paraphernalia, came home and there was this telegram waiting. Report immediately. And for an army infantry soldier, immediately means at once. There's no stopping at all.
Even after his retirement, I've been in touch with him, with his family. Mrs. Shankar Prasad and my wife have been very closely associated in the spreading the awareness on cancer. She runs an NGO which is providing a lot of support to patients who are suffering from this dreadful disease. But I think she's got compassion and I think she has also been a pillar of strength for General Shankar Prasad, because I think without her support, he would not have been where he is today.
All his officers and soldiers that I've seen throughout his career, I don't think he's had really any conflict in his life. He's led a conflict-free life, which is dedicated to one thing alone, which is to do the best he can as an officer of the Indian Army. And I think even after retirement, this is what consumes him. What is the best for the Indian Army? What is the best for the country? And that's what motivates him.
My father is somebody who cannot sit idle. He's always kept himself busy, and in the 20-odd years since retirement, he's been very focused with the Gymkhana Club, with the Modern School Old Students Association, with the Vasant Vihar Association and the Vasant Vihar Club.
Shankar is a very, very considerate person, very caring, like I said, and he takes care of everyone. But the only quality I think that I don't like is about him being very short-tempered. And the beauty is he's short-tempered only with me, not with everybody else around. So once I literally took the courage to ask him, why me? He says, because I can say something to you and I know you will understand. You will not misunderstand. And that I think goes a long way, because compatibility is what it's all about, a marriage about. Understanding the partner, understanding the needs and requirements the person has.
My family has been the greatest supporter of mine. My wife, forever, I've been out in field areas so frequently. She managed the 2 children, she managed to keep her composure, she managed to support me in every activity that I did, and she participated with me in my senior ranks in the Army Welfare Organization. So I must say my wife was a great support for enabling me to get to the career where I did. She's a bit of a pusher. She used to push me to work harder, and she was pushing me to read and and be prepared for events. And somehow this period of mine had some effect on our children.
The other great quality that he's had is about sports. In fact, not had, has. He's still a very keen sportsman. And I've seen that, how my child, my son, has imbibed that. Today, he's also a keen golfer, just as much as Shankar is. And even in this day, when his knees are giving him a little bit of a problem, he's on the golf course, practically 3 to 4 times a week.
And my grandchildren are very happy, all full of sports. And they all think that because of their grandfather, they must play sports as seriously as they want to. Our grandson has played great cricket in England, and all our children are doing extremely well. Grandchildren are doing swimming, and I must say, God has been very kind to me. I have not had a failure as yet, and I don't see why God will ever let me face a failure.
The bravest are surely those who have the clearest vision of what is before them, glory and danger alike, yet notwithstanding, go out to meet it. That sums up the life of Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad. Jai Hind.